Not well.
Not very well. That's also our conclusion.
Split my side up.
Social is still using our status now. This
Well,
Mastodon
really helpful,
supports, but doesn't
need a charging
agree.
brick. I feel better about having a charging brick, but where's theirs?
We are live. Would you like to start?
Okay. It's kind of overwhelming to just have everyone.
Yeah.
Should I leave so you feel better?
No, I woke up this morning and I thought, oh, this could be a session. It was nice that you all agreed.
Unanimously.
I kind of wanted to talk about notifications. And there are different ways of looking at them. One of them is, so the two, in my view, there are two kinds of notifications, the two ways to think about it. One of which is like the ping you get on your, with the sound and a pop-up on your phone or on your computer, which is like an instant notification of, yeah, this has now happened and I want to, so that the server is telling me there is something. And the other is like entries in a list, and an example of that would be GitHub. Yeah. So Martijn pushed something, opened the thing on GitHub, and now I got a notification of that. But I didn't really get a notification like the ping thing, but it's a list of all the things that has happened in the past, and I can look at it on my own pace, on my own moment that I said, well, let's do something with it or not. So those are two kinds of notifications. And Facebook is also this world icon thingy where you can click on it. So it's also popping up when you're online in the corner, like this has happened now, I believe, or at least I've been using it for a while. But it also collects those.
What sort of things do you want to get notifications for? Like whichever kind.
For me, I would like to get a notification when I get a web mention. So I can also I mean, right now, if you send me a web mention, I will probably not notice until I go to the post that got the web mention underneath it. So I also wrote a sort of a web mention log, and every 2 or 3 months I look into that log, and then I see, oh yeah, this is an actual web mention, and the rest is just bridgy. And I want to, from the non-bridgy ones, I would like to have an overview, like, oh, you got a new one, or maybe bridgy ones as well, maybe cluster them or something. But
maybe all of them and then like a filter of some kind?
It could be. What I don't really want, but we can get into ways of doing that as well. But what I don't really want myself is the actual tap, like, okay, this has happened now. But there are ways to get that, so maybe we can get in, if people are interested, get into that part as well. Yeah, I had also like health checks from my server would be nice sometimes, I guess. Is it still running? And I thought of fancy features like Facebook had these fancy features like, oh, this has happened so such and such days ago would be a nice feature to have ping to yourself. That could be a thing. And a separate thing I took with my old setup was that I'll log every microblog request I made. So I could keep an eye on like, oh, what is Swarm doing and how many posts are there, and have separate. So those are maybe other people, other kinds of notifications.
I can tell you things I do get notifications for.
Okay.
Likes and comments and things like that on posts for sure.
Yeah.
And when someone follows me, so Tom's just followed me, and I got a notification in Monocle as well as on my phone.
And that's the new reader thing with follows.
This one's actually because he got me from his Mastodon,
And that's
and I
one
just
percent.
made Mastodon. I need to push those in.
Okay.
But I use the notifications channel in the reader for notifications.
Yeah.
And it's like you're saying, it's this kind of thing first, where it's a list on the web page. And I had that for a couple of months, and I wanted to get them on my phone. So I wrote a little separate thing that takes the unread notifications from there, sends them as a push notification, and then marks them as read. So that they always end up on my phone.
Okay.
And it's been working pretty well.
And then you have a separate channel for that for the things you want to get on your phone, or is
Yeah,
it-
the notifications channel
yeah.
is the things I want on my phone, basically.
And that, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you could have multiple ones.
But I could also have multiple.
Yeah, for me it would be just checking that list.
But that would be
Yeah.
really useful because you could have potentially multiple channels that would send to your phone.
Mhm.
So for example, if my server goes down, it would be nice to know about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, but say, for example, somebody posts on Twitter that's not interesting, I can check on that later.
Yeah, I would like to have more ability to configure that kind of thing within Monocle, because I'm looking at like a pretty long list of channels, which I'm pretty happy with how it's sorted out. Like I have, different groups of friends sorted in different channels and different types of things coming from different Twitter accounts, going into different channels and different blog feeds that I follow. And I want some of those on my phone. I don't want all of them on my phone. And I want some better way to configure which of those like
Where?
are high priority, which I feel like is like the problem of every system. This is like the recurring thing where it's like, what is it? Slack has this amazing diagram of when they choose to send where they choose
Yeah.
which kind of notification,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this like massive flow chart of like is the channel high priority? Is it from someone who is like online? Are you online or marked as snooze? Is it like overriding the snooze feature because of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, it's kind of, this is a notification that gets pushed. Is it a notification that sends you an email, or is it just, there is a list somewhere of these things have happened and you are somewhat interested in them? That's, for instance, a problem I have is with GitHub. Like, on GitHub, how do I keep track of projects I'm vaguely interested in?
Mhm.
Like, I want to have at some point, somewhere I want to have things that happened there, but I don't want to get an email for every new issue, which is what happens if you follow them.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas,
Exactly.
whereas if you start, it's just a bookmark that doesn't do anything to the UI. It's kind of, tell me if there's a new release or a big discussion, but never ever push a notification to me. Just
Yeah.
display it somewhere. And for instance, that's something that's difficult, where, okay, I use email filters for the emails, then if it's this project name, put it in a subfolder and mark it as that.
Yeah.
And what I do for stuff on my website, mostly web mentions, is in my case, I use IRC. I know that other people in the community use their own Slacks and have bots that just post a message. You just got a web mention.
Mhm.
I really should have a feature that sends me a message, hey, this script that sends web mention to IRC is broken again.
Put that one on Slack.
But that also for me, because I have most of the time I have the IRC client open. It's running on the same server, so I just installed a small IRC server. The bouncer also joins the local server, and bots can push me messages there, and have the client open most of the day. Where I'd be interested in seeing that. If I don't have IRC open, I probably don't want any notifications at all. So that works.
But we need to
It's
start
sort of
with somewhere to
built-in.
collect all of these notifications together.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise,
Well,
through.
at first I thought, oh well, this is a new service of some kinds because I want one place to hold holds all my notifications. But it might in fact indeed be just an addition to the reader because that's also a place where I want all my
Yeah.
posts. So that's yeah.
It
Makes
feels
sense.
very much like it's a filtered view of some of the things that are in the reader.
Yeah.
So it's like I want the reader to have everything, and then I want some of those based on some rules to end up as push notifications on a phone.
There is a difference still because like in the maybe I've got it wrong, but in the reader there is a feed, and the feed publishes things, and it's on the feed that just publishes, and it's the reader that goes to the feed and says, oh, what's new? Whereas with notifications, you kind of want another service to say, oh, this user needs to get notified now, so here is the thing.
That's exactly why I built a endpoint into my server that's doing this, that other things can push into.
Yeah, so there is a push.
Yeah. So every channel is a micropub endpoint. So other things
You
can go and
use
push
a
things.
micropub for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So other things can push data into there so that it can happen in real time, and it's not only about following external feeds.
Yeah.
And that model works pretty well, I think.
Then again, then you reduced sort of because now I need a microformat to describe a message / notification.
That's just
thing.
text.
That's just
It's
text.
ultimately just text, really.
Yeah, but you need to type, right? You need to say, oh, this is a type of entry or type of.
It's just
It's an
it's
H
just an
entry.
H entry. It's just a text
it.
post,
Yeah, okay.
right?
it's a
If
text
you want
post,
to, if you
and
want to
then-
show like, if you want to show, I guess this issue is not a good example, but like go to like the dashboard maybe, right?
Yeah. Like here.
Oh, they just changed it all. No.
Yeah, everything is changed.
Well, yeah. So the first description there, the plain text.
Warning dragons.
Yeah,
Signet
this is a-
started.
this
No,
is
no,
a
not that.
description.
Not that. No, up above. That line. Signet starred. This,
Oh, this.
That's the notification.
No.
The thing below is a preview of the repo.
Ah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the publish ad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of a post with a reply context. Kind of.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's a reply context or a link preview. But that is just text.
Yeah.
And it's HTML because it has a link. So that actually brings up the next point, which is the text design of notifications, which is a challenging problem and has a lot of documentation on the wiki already.
Okay.
Looking at other sites that do it. So making that sentence, for example, is something that, like, it takes a while to make a sentence like that make sense when you're dealing with all the different kinds of things that exist. So, so-and-so liked your post is what I get a lot in my reader. I would rather that it said things like, so-and-so liked your photo, so-and-so liked your video, where the notification text needs to be aware of the object that it's a notification about. And then that also, like if you start talking about so-and-so invited you to an event, so-and-so replied to your invitation to an event, it gets complicated pretty quick. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about, where it's like, now you need to do text design.
And also you need to do some kind of post type discovery in there.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like what you want is you want this text to show up in the interface and on the phone, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm thinking about
There's a-
it mostly applies to the web mention
Yeah.
notifications,
Mhm.
right? Which is not really applying to like the health check of the system stuff.
Mhm.
It's not really a prerequisite, but it's mostly focused on the.
But I mean, like the system health checks also can, at some point you're going to need to write a sentence
Yeah.
for it. It's just a very different problem space than this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's also an interesting problem is an aggregation of notifications. Like, do you want really
Every single
like
one.
100 entries, people like your photo, or does it maybe make sense to have
Yeah.
one notification, 100 people like your photo, or could also be like that if it's close friends, it shows the names, and then
Yeah.
90 other people I don't really care about.
I thought there was an example of that here, but I guess not. There's just that one sentence
Doesn't
clustering.
yeah.
But I thought there were examples of
Users
clustering.
clustering.
Notifications.
No.
So yeah, Ryan wrote up a way to do clustering, and I implemented this more or less in webmention.io. It works okay, but not great. I need to work on my implementation of it. It turns out it's pretty hard to do that kind of clustering smart, because you want to cluster, but not also delay too much, right? So like you want immediate notifications of low volume notifications, and you want to cluster high volume ones, but you don't know whether it's low or high until some amount of time has passed.
Yeah,
or in
it's
GeoWorks.
easier if you display them in a list, where the user just visits the list every once in a while, because then you have the knowledge of what's happened since the last time you just checked.
I mean, I don't know how, what do you, at least with some with push notification APIs, you could also do that you revoke the notification if it hasn't been accepted and
Rewrite it.
showed. Like I know that to go in the technical way, like there's this web push thing where you can push to a service worker in the browser, and there you don't send directly a push notification, but you send your payload to the service worker, and that then can create individual notifications. And I think that API also allows to revoke and update notifications. So you could do something that the number of people who like it is constantly updated, or it collapses multiple ones into one when it gets too much. So things like that exist in that API. I think the problem is, again, that Apple in Safari on iOS doesn't support that stuff. And on desktop,
it probably will.
and on desktop Safari you have to use an Apple-specific thing instead of the standard. But at least nowadays on Android it works quite well for my limited testing.
This was my very limited service worker that actually there's more, because you in the browser you need to subscribe to the things, and you get a sort of URL back, and you can push to that URL, and this is the service worker that handles the showing the notification. At least at some point I don't really know if it's still working, but
In the backend it's a bit complicated because it has to go through the device maker. So typically Apple or Google, because they want to use the official push services. And so if I am on Firefox on Android, it builds a connection to a Mozilla server, which then takes care of talking to the Google server to send the push notification, and Firefox gets that and figures it out. And it is encrypted, so there's a bit of overhead for that.
yeah.
But it's not that difficult to implement.
No, it was pretty straightforward when I did something like that.
And
Just set that it's on iOS.
and
I mean, I don't want notifications, but I do want the
So-
possibility to get.
So on one of my devices I had issues with that for some reason. I tried to test things, sent myself 10 notifications, and then those notifications arrived over the following 3 weeks, which is a bit annoying. In the middle of the night, my test from 2 weeks ago sent me a notification again. But
There it is.
but on my
Works.
but on most devices I've tested it worked completely fine. And it was hacked together custom ROM, so it's completely possible that just the push service was half broken. And of course the services like push bullet, I think one service where you basically get a webhook and can send them. And I think they have XY as an
Yeah, I
Android.
have push over.
Push over,
Yeah, I use push bullet, same principle.
Yeah.
And those services are quite useful because you can send it to multiple devices at the same time, but then when you read it on one device, it can disappear from the other.
That's nice.
Which is nice. And
Yeah.
you can have different channels and mute things.
That's interesting, that's right. So those usually have those controls of deciding how to treat different notifications and
Yeah, they've already
prioritize
figured
them.
that out. So you just have to send it the stuff and then it does the rest of the work for you.
So I wonder if that's like, I mean, it sounds like the easiest way for any individual here to start doing it is like, if you at least have a list of notifications you want to deliver to yourself, you can just like push it over to one of those things and let those apps deal with the UI to fiddle with how to prioritize them.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have an API, and whenever it does something, I want to know whether it's positive or negative, because there's not a lot of people using it, so it's like 3 posts every 2 weeks. And so I send everything to that, and it does it for me. It's quite nice.
Is anybody else taking notes, or everybody's typing on their own thing? So I'm hearing typing, but I'm the only one in this Etherpad document.
Maybe people
I'm
are
watching
just
it that
programming.
day.
Okay.
Someone is typing.
do you want to put a screenshot up? Click the 2 screenshots I shared in that document. Put them up there. Those are what one of them is from Monocle, one of them is from my iPhone. Let's see that.
Maybe I should just share you the other screen as well.
So that I just got, that's at the top of my Monocle list, and then it also was sent to my phone via pushover.
Do they get deleted from the notification list, or?
Just marked as red.
Okay.
Yeah, I should
And-
probably delete those at some point because the list is really long.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So that also means like there's not a concept of only reading a few for now and the others still being kept unread because it's the use on if you only rely on that logic.
Yeah, yeah.
Which when with the GitHub issues you can do like pick which one you want to read right now. And
Mhm.
it's somewhat tracks the others.
Yeah, these are usually not like super high value things. I just want to glance at them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying that. It gives me a mechanism to get push notifications on my phone that I can also read on another device where I read everything else. Right. Who else is getting notifications already on either a laptop, like web app, or a phone?
You get all
Like
the
from your
notifications.
website, not
Just gonna
from
say
like
from
Twitter,
everything.
but like from your website or other software that's like related to your website. Is anybody else doing this kind of stuff yet? Yeah. Do you use any tools that we haven't mentioned yet?
I do it more for the case where I want to know if my website is running or not.
Okay.
Any other stuff, so it's a combination of pushover and my case, Prometheus or Grafana as the software.
What was the software called?
Prometheus?
Oh yeah.
To be monitoring tools.
I want to see if I can find a way to hook Monet into some push notification thing, because right now I have status page telling me like, your website went down. It's like, that's great, but what caused it to go down?
Yeah, the website is down as the last result. I want to know beforehand if CPU is at 100% for the last 5 minutes, or I forgot that my disk space is running out or something like that.
Exactly, it would be good to know, like,
Given that typical sysadmin tool probably can send emails, so it probably can hook into that mechanism. Then instead of calling the email sending command, call a command that someone triggers a push notification.
or just be really basic and have it email a push notification service.
I would like to be able to let people who are using Aperture also configure their phones to get push notifications. I think it'd be pretty cool, but I also don't want to build an iPhone app for that, which would be the easy way to do it. So easy way for the end user to do it, where they just download the iPhone app and it works. So I want some way to basically let people have a way to do this themselves if they're using Aperture, where that was, this requires that I'm using pushover and I go give my API key to this little script. So I think that might be the way that I have to do it, of like in Aperture add support for a handful of these apps that support notifications, and then you would go into your account, plug in the URLs, and then it'll work. I think that's like, so if anybody's using these apps, would that be like something you would expect to,
Usually I would.
how that would work, or is there like a better way that I
I
could?
would expect you to have an API key registered, and then for me to be able to like log into my, like, do the all stance where I'm like, hey, I want you to connect to my Pushbullet account.
Oh, does it work
Pushbullet
that way?
Pings you and goes, are you allowed to do this? And you go, yeah, there's a thing.
Oh, that's even better. I didn't
Because
know
you can
that
add
existed.
channels in, at the very least in Pushbullet. I can't remember with Pushover because they wanted me to pay them a large amount of money for the number of notifications I was receiving at one point. So I was like, okay, Pushbullet. But yeah, in Pushover there's a bunch of channels that you can subscribe to. You can allow, like Zapier, sorry, can send me notifications, and then that comes through in a Zapier channel.
Interesting. So I could go make an Aperture channel thing in that.
Yeah, you can
Service?
authenticate as Aperture, and then you can send different users different notifications.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's like dragging them.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of these are basically just RSS feeds, but then you can like allow apps, be that web apps or something else, to send you specific stuff that's just for you. So like Zapier is not telling everybody that it tweeted and tooted like a particular blog post. It's just telling you that.
That's better than pasting API keys around. That sounds great.
Yeah, and then people don't have to figure out like what is an API key, how do I register for it.
Yep.
Yeah, they have an overflow.
And also then you can have the Aperture icon, and they can see, hey, this is coming from Aperture versus, like at the moment, all of my stuff for all the managers comes through a channel called Pushbullet API Access. And that doesn't look so nice.
Mhm.
And it would also allow me to theoretically like mute one, like just Aperture for like a couple of hours.
Put a link in the etherpad to the docs for the OAuth.
A what?
I put a link in for the OAuth documentation so you can
Cool.
in the pad.
I guess the question then is, when Aperture can send them, when should it send push notifications? For what?
That's something that the Aperture's gonna have to figure out
Yeah.
with the user. Like the user's gonna have to go
Exactly.
like, I want notifications for this.
So, is that something you would expect to be able to have to configure in Aperture, or can you configure in your app to filter out the notifications Aperture is sending?
I would expect to configure that in Aperture.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could give you-
usually expect to configure things in the app that's gonna send me the
Got
notifications
it.
versus the notification service. Sometimes they are one and the same,
Yeah.
but if they're not, then I wanna do it in the app.
So I could, easy one is I can just, for each channel, have a checkbox of, do you want notifications for this channel?
Yeah.
And then it would be smarter if I could have, filters for different types of things. So you could decide whether or not likes trigger notifications versus comments, things like that.
Be nice. Step one is
Yeah, step one
notifications.
is notifications. I might have to switch over to Pushbullet then, because that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, the only thing is they haven't updated their app for like even the 10, so, but.
Oh, really?
You never need to open the app because you look at the
Yeah.
notification. And also you can send links with the notifications. I think you can do that with Pushover too, so when you
Yeah.
open the notification, you don't necessarily go to Pushbullet, or you briefly do, but then you go to the place that you want it to go. And as a note, you can even specify that should be a URL scheme, so that you can open like shortcuts or
Oh,
maybe
nice.
indigenous if that has URLs that with it, and go to a specific post or go to a tweet in Tweetbot. You know, you can get really crazy with it if you want,
Okay.
or you can keep it really simple and just open the like real link in Safari. support some kind of push, like, chat system as well. So, like, I can reply to stuff, like, I have it apparently from 2nd of April. I have a status cake test message,
Probably
because I was
don't
currently
use
testing whether or not
nominate
status
him
cake
for your
worked with this,
first
and I
year
can send
program,
it a message back.
since David already commented.
So what?
What is that?
So, that's a push bullet.
He was
So you
working
can
on the
theoretically
simple
reply to a
location stuff for
notification.
WordPress. He was
Oh,
working
which means
specifically because
That
he
could
got banned from
then
his reverse
send
video
back a
code.
reply and make a micropub post.
I think I just found a very cool looking rabbit hole.
I think you did.
Cool,
Sorry,
that's neat.
They have a chat concept where you can reply to a notification from within the
You-
app.
Like, so
Ooh.
some notifications are just channels where you just receive notifications. But apparently Status Cake have set theirs up so that you can reply
it's
to
interesting.
a
So
message.
if you got a notification that someone commented on a post,
You can just comment
you
back
would then be
from
able
the
to just, from the
notification.
notification, type a reply back.
That's nice.
Because I can make,
That could be really nice. if
because I
don't
can
format
make
it.
Aperture know how to post via micropub back to your site. I might have to try that.
Next
Interesting.
step is gonna be feature request for Indigenous. Hey, can we have push notifications for,
It's on his radar, and I can't remember what his thoughts are on that.
yeah. Alright. I can't do stuff like this.
I think there was a problem that not only has to run a server for the access, they also has to run the server has then to poll Microsoft because Microsoft
Yeah.
can't push it
Yeah.
to the server.
Ah,
I think that
is that what he's
that-
waiting on? Is that what he's stuck on?
At least that was like, that's annoying enough that I don't want to do it now.
Yep, yep.
And
And
I'm not
also,
sure if
then
that
you
would
have
be.
server costs that,
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like if it has to poll another API which is also polling feeds,
Yeah.
it kind of, you're using Aperture because it does all that for you.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So it sounds like I could help out apps like Indigenous by adding a push from, like a webhook push
Yeah.
from Aperture. So that like,
they could, then they still need a server or,
they still need a server because they
Or
do need to
something,
talk to
but-
Apple ultimately,
yeah, but they,
and Google, but
but it can make something that really just translates individual requests, which is easier than.
yeah. So he would be able to register with someone's Microsoft server and say, this is where to post notifications.
Yeah.
That seems doable too.
And then of course, I mean, if it really just has to translate, it can even be like easily on App Engine or Lambda or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Apple's push notification is super special. But
Yeah.
it's not a regular API.
Oh, okay.
This might be the one thing that can get me to switch from my current reading setup to an
Really?
IndieWeb reading setup.
Well,
Is
we
the
have another
notification-
section on that
If
later
I,
today.
if I can get lots and lots of notifications because I'm a great fan of notifications.
Okay.
And basically no reader setup does. I even get notifications for certain people posting to Instagram or Facebook. Like the full-on stalkerish way, basically. But it's like, I want to see when this person shares something to Facebook. And I make them a high priority contact or whatever Facebook calls it, and then I can get a notification on my phone when they post. Same can be done for Instagram. If I follow stuff in my feed reader, I can't get those notifications. But if the IndieWeb readers can say you can get the notifications,
Okay. Yep.
Step 1, notifications.
Yeah.
Step 2, let's
Fancy
look at everything else.
notifications. Okay, so I have a couple of things that are coming out of this that I can do to help various parts. So the other one is helping apps like Indigenous deliver push notifications.
Okay, this is you. Perfect.
So at that point, if the Microsoft server is basically giving apps a way to receive new posts via webhook, that sounds like that's useful for more than just notifications. It could be used for other kinds of integrations too.
All kinds of
And
crazy
anything that wants to watch a feed can then go through a reader that's already set up to pull feeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the big win.
Mm.
You can build your own spam filter that way, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like fun.
So we
Question
can,
is,
I
how
could,
many Sundays do you?
yeah.
Did you look at, what's that thing called, Huggin? That watches, is it Huggin?
I think Hugen does.
Something like that, that watches
Yeah.
sites.
The one that, yeah,
Did-
the
did-
pulsar is silent.
Oh, is that like the DIY IFT?
Yeah, basically.
Mm.
I've never actually used that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Right, it's like IFT, but it's on your own server, you run it.
Yeah.
You can pull it up. HUGINN.
Nee, INN.
The one with only one N is a panorama stitching software.
Because it's one I found first.
That's the one.
Okay.
They have a little
They're both-
screenshot down below of all the little, they call them agents.
Uh-huh. I think I have a new podcast.
Yeah, because
It is gonna be
because-
interesting.
yeah, I think it's with the agents because of Hugen and
Unit.
and
And
another
so you
one
could-
are the ravens of Thor or something in mythology.
Oops.
Could you use that to watch, say, a GitHub page? I mean, I don't,
Probably.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can watch GitHub pages. The question is, what level of access does the GitHub API allow them to get?
GitHub is just rolling out, or has announced GitHub Access
Mhm.
yesterday or 2 days
Oh,
ago or so.
I,
And I think that
I
is
read about
what
that,
it would be, what it would be for.
yeah, but
I'm not sure if that works
We
on
also
user
have the
level or
webhooks.
this is something you configure a repository.
I think it was
Mm.
Or
aimed
is
at
it
repositories so that when you add something to a new repository, it can recompile like GitHub pages, so
Yeah.
you can do better blog posting on GitHub pages and stuff. But it's possible that it might also be at a user level.
Yeah, GitHub also has the webhooks for the repository, and you can
Yeah, but that's
drill down, but
It's again repository level. I can't subscribe to all my GitHub notifications on repositories I'm not admin on. That's kind of the
Mhm.
thing that's always difficult with GitHub.
Yeah.
there's also one thing that the company I'm working for is kind of related, but not on a, it's really on a more simple level. We build a mobile app called Olisto, and it sort of lets you connect all sorts of smart devices and services together, like IFT or Zapier. It's more based on things like, you know, when you're on the home, turn on the lights and stuff like that, and thermostat. We also have a notification channel, but it just sends you a really simple notification that if something happens, you know, you can get a notification yourself. We also have a maker channel that sort of works like webhooks, but it doesn't have, we don't sort of offer the granularity that we were talking about. But what we are working on is sort of taking that whole rule engine out of our app and offer it as a service for other app builders to sort of build the whole notification scheme and things in their own app without, just by using our API. So that might be of interest when it's done. That should be somewhere, I think, in the next quarter, 2019. But again, it doesn't offer that much granularity and options like push bullet or push overhead. But it might be worth checking out because, of course, it's a great app.
It sounds like I need to, for Aperture, at least have a toggle per channel so people can choose to receive notifications. Then either use, probably have people the ability to connect a push bullet account,
Mhm.
and then give Indigenous an endpoint that it can use to register a URL for a user.
And then people could choose to receive either push bullet or Indigenous notifications.
Or both.
Or both.
They can
Or
just
both.
install
If they
both if
are
they really want.
really crazy.
Um,
Perhaps if they select both and like massive red warnings, like you will get double notifications for everything until the end of time.
Maybe you have push pull on your iPad and digital on the iPhone.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell people what to do.
no, it's just the case of if you have push bullet on all of your devices, then it takes the notifications away, which of course doesn't happen if
Yeah.
you read the notification in Indigenous.
But if you make it a generic, enter your webhook URL here, it would work for Indigenous, but also for other services. So I might still want to get push bullet on my phone, but also send notifications to some sort of service I'm running elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that would be the same input.
Which means you probably then want to choose per channel which
Yeah,
So that's
integration
so that's the
push
question.
to.
Yeah.
and
You
it would
might
be
want
really
that,
nice
or
if you
maybe
could register our own
Yeah.
things with you and just be like, hey, like for like these 5 channels, send something over to this special webhook for me, please, and then my
Right.
special webhook, I don't know, tweets, toots, and sends on flying unicorns and
Yeah.
rainbows.
I see a rules engine in your future.
Yeah. Try to keep it small. That seems useful. And that does also seem something like any other microsub server could do, as long as we can document this in a way that
Yeah.
is not special to any particular app.
Yeah, I think that's like probably what exactly you can configure filter-wise and stuff. That's gonna be happen in the web interface. It's not part of the protocol,
Mhm.
but like maybe get a list of all the offered webhooks, something like
Mhm.
that. Like that you can configure a filter set and that has one webhook, and then you can somehow fetch, give me all the filters the user has created in the UI. I want that one.
Maybe, I was even just thinking more like, I want to make sure that Indigenous doesn't have to write special code for Aperture.
Yeah.
So Indigenous should be able to use the same mechanism to register a user's webhook on any Microsoft server.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I'll probably need
We'll
to
have
work
to
with
think.
Eddie on,
Yeah. I have to think
Coordinating
about
that.
what it looks like.
And when you have a configuration set that does the webhooks, because that you can generalize, and that's harder with something like push bullet where you're implementing a specific service.
I think it's okay that Aperture uses push bullet specifically, but because I'm writing the code to talk to push bullet, but I wouldn't want Eddie to have to write code that only is
No.
useful for Aperture.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, good, I have some things to do that come out of this discussion.
For tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So who brought a time machine with them?
Yeah. Can we just go back to Sunday morning again and again?
Left mine in the garage, sorry.
It's no problem. You leave now by bus and then come back in 10 minutes.
One of those, if I ever invent a time machine, I'll pop up right there about now. So,
Nice try though, actually. Still wish I had the time code from Harry Potter.
just go back and back.
Trust me, there are enough things that I should be doing that I would not run into myself before.
Well, I think this is the end of the time. And 10-minute break and next sessions. We have accessibility in this room and
Search in the other.
search in the other one.
You might need to hit refresh. I accidentally hit